Today I'm going to share with you 11 different tips that I have learned over my 5+ years as a gardener. The first one of those being, don't waste your money on soil. Whether you have a bunch of raised beds, a bunch of containers, soil, especially bag soil, is super duper expensive, and like the Miracle-Gro stuff for a 2 cubic foot bag is about $13–14 in some instances. But you can make your own for a fraction of the cost, sometimes down to about $5 a cubic foot, depending on prices. What you do is all you have to do is just take some peat moss and then take about a third of your native soil, as long as it's not clay. So if it's loamy or sandy, if not, use compost. You can also add compost. And then for raised beds, you don't have to add perlite or vermiculite, but in containers I would add some perlite or vermiculite. That is for drainage, but raised beds in themselves have great drainage, so that's why I usually skip that step. The second tip is to not waste money on unnecessary fertilizers. All you really need is a good fast release fertilizer such as Miracle-Gro or fish emulsion, and one good slow organic release, which could be like Dr. Earth, could be Job's, and any of those. Even the Walmart brand will work perfectly because they all basically have the same ingredients. If you want, you can make your own fertilizers, such as DIY charged biochar, which go ahead and check out the video. I'll leave a link in the description. And also fish fertilizer, your own fish fertilizer for less than $4 a gallon compared to the Alaska stuff, which I'll also leave a link to in the description so you can watch that later. But even if you're just starting out, all I would worry about is a fast release and one granular slow release. There are so many other different types of amendments and amending things that you can put into your garden and flower beds and so on, and it's just kind of tedious and unnecessary in most cases. In fact, I have not fertilized these lilies here at all with anything, and look how healthy they are. Same with nasturtiums. Some plants don't even like having a lot of fertilizer, like nasturtiums, so you want to make sure you're not wasting fertilizer on plants that don't like it, or usually sometimes don't even need it. Once perennial plants get established, like this candy tuft here or this feathergrass here, generally they only need fertilized once a year, and that is with slow release granular fertilizer. So it's just something that you can keep in mind, something that you don't want to waste your money on or your precious time as well. The third tip that I can share with you that will definitely help you in the garden is buy bigger plants, shrubs, and so on. It depends. But if you want like a big shrub, like a Rose of Sharon, like you can see right here, buy them bigger. Buy them in 1-gallon pots instead of quart pots. Buy things like raspberries, blackberries, currants, and other fruit trees at either bare root in the winter, or when you're able to get them as bushes, because this has taken 3 years to finally bloom, and it is covered in blooms, but it's taken 3 long years. And if I had bought them as a bush, it would have produced that very first year. It's kind of like this blueberry. I decided to go ahead and buy this blueberry earlier this year because I had one that unfortunately died, but I believe due to the cold weather. But it is always good to buy either second year, sometimes even third year plants. It just kind of depends what you want to do. So buying bigger in some cases will definitely save you a year, sometimes even 2 years off of growing time. And same with things apply to fruit trees. I'll allude a little bit later in the video more on this point. But the fourth thing that really can help you in your garden, or just starting out gardening, this is your first year or this is your first season of gardening, go ahead and buy transplants. Don't worry about any seed starting. In fact, I have bought in a couple transplants myself, and I still garden for, I've been gardening for 5–6 years. Pepper transplants are basically the one transplant that you can buy without worrying about wasting your money, because it does take a very long time for pepper transplants to size up and germinate. Like you can see here, I grew one from seed and had a bunch of cold weather and etc., and it didn't do well. But my tomato plants I did grow from seed as well. But if you can find good deals, in fact, for the entire month of May, Lowe's had their Bonnie transplants for $3.33. So look for sales. Also look for in the cup, if there's multiple plants in the cup, you can generally separate them. So that is definitely a good tip, is buy transplants if you're just starting out. Don't worry about seed starting or anything until your first season is over. That way you're able to ease into things and get better acquainted with what grows well in your garden and what you will want to grow. So it's definitely an important tip to keep in mind. If you want to expand your garden super quick with excellent flowers, you will want to buy bulbs in the fall for like tulips and other things like that, or bulbs in the spring for lilies and other similar bulbs. Generally Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot will get all these stock in for fall bulbs and spring bulbs. They are super cheap, especially I got a 20 pack of lily bulbs for only $10 a couple years ago, and you can see this is only a few of them, but they're doing so well. They're doing super duper well, and it is an easy way to get a lot of color. If you saw some of my videos, I had these, I bought these bulbs 5-pack for $3, and they were the most beautiful tulips I had ever seen. And also bare root, going back to that point, you want to buy bare root trees because that will save you 50, 60, 70, 80% sometimes, depending on the size of tree and how big you're able to get it. But like a 1-inch caliper bare root fruit tree will generally yield you fruit sometimes in the first or usually second year. It is a good idea to kind of pick off a lot of the fruit in the first year. Oh, there's a squirrel friend again. There he goes. Anyway, some bare root fruit trees are the way to go. Bulbs and other fibrous roots like hostas are great to buy bare root, and plus a lot of bulbs like dahlia bulbs, like I have right there in those pots, are a great find. Eden Brothers is a great online nursery. There's Stark Brothers, which sell bare root fruit trees. If you're living in the Northwest, there's one called Restoring Eden. That is one found in the Pacific Northwest. But just basically look for ways to save money. That is the best tip I can give you as a gardener, especially in today's economy where everything is ridiculously expensive, especially considering if you were to buy one lily plant in the store, it would cost you $7 to $11 for one. But I can get 20 bulbs in the spring for literally less than 50 or about 50 cents a piece, so it's definitely a good tip to keep in mind. After your first season, go ahead and get some seed starting supplies. Go ahead and get a seed starting cell tray like this 36 one. I like the self-watering ones. I do recommend because they kept my seedlings well watered. You can also get something like a heat mat, especially if your house is consistently below about 75 degrees, because most seedlings that like the warm weather, such as tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and so on, they like the soil to be about 75 to 80 degrees, and the best way to provide that is with a heat mat. So go ahead, after your first year, go ahead and start investing in some seed starting supplies. Usually at this time of year, there will be clearance, and they're trying to get rid of all of these overstock items. So it is just a good idea to go ahead and after your first season, because you have the whole winter to plan, prep, research, make your own seed starting mix. I do recommend coco coir, sand, and a little bit of worm castings, as you can see here, because that will prevent any damping off, even if you do accidentally overwater a couple of times. And the sand provides just enough drainage while the coco coir holds on to the proper amount of moisture. But go ahead, and I'll leave a link again to my ultimate seed starting setup and seed starting playlist down below, so definitely go ahead and check that out after this video. But after your first year, then you can go ahead and invest in some seed starting supplies, because this will save you a lot of money. Starting seeds saves you a ton of money, especially when you're just starting out. And speaking of saving money, you will want to shop clearance racks and other clearance items in the garden center, your local nursery, and so on. I got this here for only $2. Pretty little lamb's ear. It actually looks like it's about to bloom. And ask for plants from your friends or family. I got this one from someone, and I also got the feather grass from someone, because a lot of these plants, they like to divide. I will be making a video later on plant patents and what they mean for you and your garden, so definitely subscribe if you want to see that. But in the gist, most plants, as long as they are not copyrighted, or they don't have a trademark or a registered symbol, restricted symbol, you are free to go ahead and propagate them. And same with things like lilies. Like, I only had 2 lily bulbs here. A last year, and look, it's propagated itself into like 6 or 7 or 8, and I've just got a lily clump now. So it's amazing to see. But shop those clearance racks, especially at Home Depot and Walmart. You can definitely find things for like 50, 60, 80% off in some cases. So it's definitely an important point of advice that I would like to share with you. As my years of gardening, I have saved so much money just looking at those clearance racks, buying plants off those clearance racks, and helping even revive them in some cases, which I'll leave another link in the description if you want to see how I revive my clearance plants in just 3 easy steps, so they're thriving within 12 hours. But these last 4 tips I would like to share. If you get anything from this video, I want them to be these 4 tips. The first one is you want to create a garden journal, whether it is a notebook, some sort of tablet, or even if it's electronic. You want to create something to document what did well, what failed, what do you want to repeat, what happened, such as like if you had a late frost, an early frost, if you had bugs eat all your plants, if you transplanted things too late, too early, and so on. You can write down anything you want in your garden journal. Basically, it is it's almost like a diary for your garden, and it's something that is very useful and something that I have practiced on for the last 2 years, and it has changed the way I garden because it has helped me so much to know what to do, what not to do. It's given me reminders as well. So another important point you can keep in mind. Arguably, one of the more important points on this entire advice list is start small. In fact, I started only with 3 containers, and sometimes that's all you can do. If you're in an apartment, a balcony, just start what you can do, grow what you can grow. It is absolutely better than nothing. As you can see, I only have 1 raised bed and a few flower pots. Just start small. You don't want to get burned out, especially in your first few seasons. If you have like 3 or 4 raised beds and you can manage that, then absolutely, that is a great way to start. But know your limits. That is very important. You don't want to overwork yourself. You don't want to neglect your plans. Do enough to where you know you can sustain and maintain your garden and your entire garden, whether it's vegetables or flowers, and that will make sure you get the most abundant harvest you've ever gotten. 10th and 11th tips I will kind of lump into one, and that is to be patient and ask questions. Patience is definitely needed because some of your plants will fail. Last year I tried to do a fall garden. They all failed, but I have learned that I need to start things like kale and lettuce about 6 weeks before my first frost date in the fall. So, and also ask questions. Reddit is a great community. YouTube here is a great community. In fact, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. There are great communities out there, and they will help you to identify plants, help to share with you something that may have gone wrong as well. So it's just an important point you can keep in mind. But patience is also needed because you will have successes and those will feel great. You will have failures and those will feel terrible. Coming from experience, you will have successes and failures, but be patient and continue asking questions, because even the best gardeners out there can still have questions. So it is definitely an important and wonderful point, because I don't want you to give up and I want you to start gardening so you can get the most abundant harvest ever. So I hope you really liked this video and got something out of it, and you got some tips and tricks from my experience. And I hope you definitely check out this video next, which will actually kind of go into the ways you can save money and by not buying a retractable hose reel.